My earliest memory of sports is when I was a child. So when I was still in primary school, or probably even earlier than that. Probably when I was in kindergarten. My dad used to take myself, my sister, sometimes a couple of my cousins out to the park. Our local park was about the entry point to the park was about a 10-ish minute walk from where we used to live. And it was basically a soccer field. But there was like a little playground off to the side for the kids. And I remember my dad always used to bring along a soccer ball so that we could kick it around. And so that was kind of like my first introduction to sports when I was a child. I remember, always wanting to play with the adults. When our families used to come together during the summertime, we'd go to a particular reservoir park area where you could have like barbecues, and there'd be large sort of grass areas so that you can play sports, and they'd have picnic tables so that you can have your picnics there, and there were playgrounds for the kids to entertain themselves with. And I remember when we used to do those little family gatherings, the adult males would always be playing soccer together. We'd always find a place where there has to be a barbecue. There has to be at least one or two picnic tables around, and lots of grass space so that the men can play soccer. But that didn't mean that the kids couldn't play. They always, allowed the kids to participate with them, and it was kind of like my earliest memories of learning to play soccer, where, obviously you can't touch the ball with your hand. You have to kick it with your feet. So I used to really enjoy that, but I don't know why my dad never signed my sister and I up to any of the local like soccer teams, like with the kids soccer teams. I guess it wasn't really something he wanted us to do. But then I hit primary school, and obviously at primary school they teach you everything, including physical education or PE. And I kid you not, PE was kind of my favorite subject. I used to love playing sports in primary school, even in high school. PE was definitely something I really enjoyed. It got me out of the classroom, being able to play games, play sports, just be outside where you're not sitting down writing things in your books. I wasn't much of a theory type of learner. I was more so the one that wanted to just get out there and just have fun and play sports all the time. So when I found out that the primary school that I went to, a lot of the primary schools had swimming programs to teach kids how to swim. So my primary school had a swimming program. Our primary school was not that far away from our local leisure centre, and we went. I think there was like a program from, I think it was like grade 1 or 2 up. So from grade 2 up to grade 6, I think it was. And there were swimming classes available. So that, during our PE time, that's when we would go and do the swimming classes. And we'd usually be there for, I think the lessons would run for about an hour. And then it would be like half an hour on either side into getting changed. So it was like being out of the school for a good 2.5 to 3 hours. and it was one of my favorite things. And I used to love to swim. Swimming was definitely one of my favorite sports growing up. I think it got to a point where the swimming classes dropped off. I think actually I might have been remembering incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure that the swimming program in primary school ran from grade 2 to maybe grade 4. And then after that, it was, in your own time. So your parents or your family would have to take you. And my parents did. My mum would take me and my sister to swimming classes after school. And I really enjoyed it. I think I got to a point in my swimming classes that I was in the class that was one below the junior life-saving classes, which says something about my swimming skills. I mean, if my parents really wanted me to, I could have done the life-saving course that they had available at my local leisure centre, but I don't think it was something my mum wanted to keep sending me to, unfortunately. I don't know what the reason would have been. It could have been monetary, it could have been just time-wise, not being able to have enough time to send the kids to the swimming classes, especially when my parents were both working full time when I was still around about the age of like 11, 12 years old. So yeah, I think we kept doing swimming classes. I wanted to join up in netball because in the same leisure centre we had like basketball and netball courts in another section of the leisure centre, and they held basketball and netball teams like clubs. So I decided I wanted to play netball. I don't know why I decided to play netball, but I did. And I think I'd played netball for about 3 to 4 months. Got a participation medal out of it, and then I found out that my cousins were joining up in doing some martial arts. And my parents said, look, you're going to have to choose. You can't do all 3 sports. You can either do 2 sports or 1. You have to choose. So my sister and I, because my sister didn't do netball. She didn't play netball. I was the only one who did. So I decided that I wanted to keep swimming. I really enjoyed the swimming aspect of just, being able to swim. But I decided to drop netball because I felt like netball was not something I was really enjoying. Not to mention that I was never the goal shooter. I was never an attacker. I was always a defender or a goalkeeper. Most of the time I was a defender, especially a wing defender. So I didn't really like it very much. And not to mention it like there were a lot of at that age, at like 12, 13 years old, there's like, all about the class and the bitchiness of some of the girls. Gonna have to admit that, because I was in the girls' teams, and I couldn't handle it. So I was just like, I want to do swimming and I want to do the martial arts. Now, the majority of my cousins that live here in Australia are male, and a lot of them are older than me. And so when I found out that they were going to do martial arts, they asked my parents if my sister and I wanted to join. So my parents asked me, I said yes. My sister reluctantly said yes. I don't think she really wanted to do martial arts. I don't think she was really into the whole doing sports thing. I don't think sports were really something she enjoyed very much. but that's okay. Not everybody likes to play sports. Everyone's a bit different in that way. So the martial art we ended up doing was we ended up starting off with was Taekwondo. So when I was 13 years old, 13? No, 12. I think I was still in primary school. It was like halfway through primary school that I started Taekwondo. So I was in grade 6, and it was a lot of fun for me because of my height. I'd say I was taller than most of the primary school kids. I mean, I wasn't the tallest, but I was one of the taller kids, which is strange now that I'm one of the shorter adults in my workplace, or just in general. So I got to do a lot of my sparring and just practicing with my male cousins, and it was fun because of my stature was a little bit heavier than usual, and I used to like the idea of being able to beat up my cousins. So I actually really enjoyed doing Taekwondo, and then I think I stopped my swimming classes probably when I got to high school, purely because parents financially just couldn't pay for 2 different sports at once, and B, of course, education was definitely vital to my parents. So I had to drop swimming, but that didn't mean I didn't stop going swimming. And I knew that at the high school that I went to, in year 8, the school had a swimming program again, as part of PE, and I was really excited about it. So that didn't bother me too much. The fact that I had to drop swimming 1 year, and then the following year I got to go back to swimming again with the school. So I did Taekwondo from when I was 12 years old up until I was about 16. I got to the Shodanbo belt level, and Shodanbo belt is essentially a half black, half red. So it is the red belt. So red belt would have been the one before that, and then half red, half black is Shodanbo, which is a Korean word that I'm blanking on, because Taekwondo is a Korean martial art, Taekwondo is the way of the foot, which I really, really enjoyed. I mean, why would I have kept on going with the sport if I didn't enjoy it for that many years? But I got to the Shodanbo level, went overseas with my mum and my sister, and came back to find out that the club I was with ended up what was the word? Ended up going into bankruptcy. So the club had to close down, unfortunately, which wasn't great to hear, because I was really looking forward to coming back and going back to training. But unfortunately, that's what happened. So had to leave Taekwondo until after I had graduated from high school. And I think when I got to about when I was about 19 or 20 years old, I decided that I wanted to actually go back to Taekwondo. I think it was like 20 or 21 years old, I believe. And I went back to Taekwondo, but I went to a different club. And it was a club that was well known around Melbourne here in Victoria. And it's a really, really good club because they teach you everything you need to know, and especially about fitness as well. And they teach from like little kids up to seniors. So I ended up going back. I told them that the last belt level that I had stopped at was at Shodanbo. They said, that's totally fine. We'll just get you back into the swing of things, and we'll get you to start off with the, with the blue belts and the red belts, and see how you fare and what you remember and all that sort of stuff. And I quickly remembered a lot of the patterns, which in Korean is pumse. So I ended up remembering most of them, and I got to a point where they were happy with my learning. That after about, I think I graded for my black belt 6 months. I think it took me 6 months of training and practice to go to the next grading, because they grade every semester, I believe. So that's what I ended up doing. So when I got there, they had maybe a month had gone by since their last grading. So I just missed out. But obviously I wouldn't have been able to grade anyway, because I would have been new to the club. So I trained my butt off to get to grade for my black belt, and I actually did it. I passed. I got my first Dan black belt, and I was very proud of myself. And we get very special certificates, which I have framed, and I ended up continuing on doing Taekwondo with that club for a while. But then I think I got to grade for my second Dan black belt. So I got to my second Dan black belt, and then I had to stop, because at the time I had started working as a security guard at the airport. And unfortunately, my work schedule was clashing with my training schedule, so I had to stop. I had to stop training. So I stopped doing Taekwondo after getting my second Dan black belt. I think about maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years had passed, and I wanted to go back, because it was on the back of my mind that I really wanted to go back to training. I went for, I think, 2 classes, and then I had to stop again. But I can't remember what that reason was. I'm pretty sure it wasn't I had to stop. It was more of I didn't have the motivation to keep going, or maybe I just didn't have that. I didn't have that rush that I had when I used to do Taekwondo. Maybe I feel like that's what it was, because even now I still feel like I want to go back and train, but for some reason in the back of my mind I'm either giving, like, I feel like I'm just giving myself excuses to not go, or it could be a financial reason, which I don't think it should be now, or maybe it's just more of a going back to seeing some of the students that are at that club and being all like, I know I've seen some of them in photos, and they've surpassed me tenfold. Like, they're already at their fourth Dan, fifth Dan black belts. They've started instructing classes. They've started, helping out with gradings. So I feel like in in that instance that the fact that I've fallen so behind that my mind is like, there's no point going back. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can go back at any time. It doesn't really matter. I think it's more so my confidence, my self confidence isn't really that great. And so that's why I feel like that if I do go back now, I feel like I'm going to get judged, or it's just my own brain judging me, which it happens to everybody. But that being said, during the time where I had stopped doing Taekwondo, I had found a gym local to me now that unfortunately it's no longer under the same management, but the gym that I used to go to had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes available. I'm one of those type of people. I tried going to the gym so many times throughout my adult life, especially in my 20s. In my 20s, the amount of times I've tried going to the gym and trying to be consistent with it was not great. I ended up signing up to a gym where I signed up for a 2-year contract. I think it was like a 1 year or a 2-year contract. And it was in the city. So it was so far out of my way that I ended up paying for this gym and not going. I think I only went to this gym maybe for about a month or two, and then I stopped. And I hadn't realized that money was direct debiting out of my account at the time. So I had to go into the gym and be like, hey, it's been this long. I want to cancel my membership. I don't come in anymore. It's too far away. So I ended up having to pay out the last of the contract, which stung for me. It absolutely stung in my pockets. I was not happy at all. I was so angry with myself. But I guess I didn't read the fine print very well, and that's the consequence of cancelling a membership that you're not going to be using. But yeah, so I've tried going to gyms so many times to the point where I'm just like, I can't commit to gyms anymore. Even if I go in casually where you pay for the session, like you go in for the day, you do your workout and you leave. I didn't keep up with it. And I know for a fact that gyms don't work for me very well. That's why I prefer sports. For me, playing sports is my form of exercise, and being able to do that with a group of people, with like-minded people who want to play the same sport together, who want to learn the sport together, it seems more fun. I want my exercise to be fun, not grueling, not painful. I know there's going to be pain in whatever sport I do. I know it's going to be, there's obviously going to be a lot of practice into the sport that you decide that you choose to play. But at least you know that there is a purpose to it. I mean, going to the gym, yes, there's a purpose. It's weight management, muscle gain, whatever the case may be in terms of your physical, your physical body. But for me, that wasn't enough. For me, it just wasn't enough to just go to the gym and pump weights or, run on a treadmill. It wasn't enough. It was too boring for me. So that's why I prefer to do sports as an exercise. And as I was saying, this particular gym that I was going to had Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a class available. I ended up being the only female in that class, and I did it for about a month because, as I said, I was the only female. and because I already knew some martial arts, like I knew Taekwondo, they said that that's cool. You'll probably get your head around this particular martial art pretty well. Apparently they were training for some competitions that were coming up. I ended up going to the competition to watch and see how they went. And then I was like, yeah, I don't think this is for me. This is not for me. So I stopped. So I stopped going to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu classes, although I did learn some really cool moves. So I am still grateful for that. So that kind of brings me to, I think maybe 2012. Yeah. 10 years ago. Wow. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, my best friend invited, me and my other best friend out for some ice skating. So at this new rink that opened up. We've been trying to plan to go ice skating a few times, and I had ice skated once before that when I was in grade 5, and that was as part of a grade 5-6 camp where we traveled to Canberra from Melbourne. And for those of you who are listening from international waters, Canberra is the capital of Australia. Not Sydney, Canberra. So yeah, I had ice skated once there because they had an ice skating rink over there. And then this was going to be my second time ever in my life that I was going to ice skate. So my best friends and I, we went ice skating, and I was actually really enjoying it. And, but we were just sort of going around in circles. I was sort of learning my footing. My best friend, one of my best friends was getting so into it that she decided she wanted to learn how to play ice hockey. Yes, we have ice hockey here. We definitely have ice hockey here. And so the ice rink that we were going to had 2 ice rinks. One was a public skating ice rink, and the other one was a hockey ice rink, where we would see all of the hockey classes being taught. And so I think I was consistent for about a year in skating around at this ice rink. And one night I saw my best friend in her hockey class. So the public rink gets a resurface with the Zamboni every so often. So there was this one moment where the public rink had to be resurfaced. And so all of the patrons, all the skaters had to come off the public rink, and we all had to wait until it was finished. So I went over to the boards where the hockey classes were being taught. And I saw the hockey class being taught. I saw my best friend, and I was like, that looks like fun. I kind of want to learn that myself. So the following term, in 2013, I can't remember when in 2013, but it was definitely 2013. I signed up to ice hockey classes, beginners ice hockey classes, and let me tell you, it was hard. Not to mention the fact that we had to gear up in all of this padding from head to toe. I was like, oh, this is interesting. The one thing I will say, though, is that because it was a beginner's class and you didn't have to have your own gear to play or to take these classes, especially for the first session, being the first session that it was free, so you could give it a go. If you didn't like it, you didn't have to come back. The communal gear that was available, they don't smell great, and they get worn for hours and hours on end, because it's not just one 1 hour class that uses them, it's multiple 1 hour classes. So there are a lot of students learning to play ice hockey, and there's a lot of beginners that don't have their own gear. So you can just imagine, I'm not going to get into that. But after my first session, I enjoyed the class. I wanted to come back. Unfortunately, I ended up, and this is going to be so gross, and I'm so sorry. So if you don't want to hear this, just skip ahead a little bit. I ended up with a wart on my hand because of the gloves that I wore. Because it was communal gloves. As soon as that happened, the following week, I bought my own gloves immediately. I didn't care how much it costed me. I'm like, just give me the cheapest ones that are going to fit. I want new ones for me. So that was my first, apart from my ice skates, because I had bought my ice skates the year before when I was just skating around in the public rink. My first piece of gear for ice hockey were the gloves. Immediately with the gloves. Eventually, I built up on my hockey gear as time progressed, because if I wanted to play in teams, I had to have my own gear. I can't constantly be. I wasn't able to constantly, borrow the communal ones, and especially because there's actually, at the time when I started learning how to play hockey, there was actually 2 rinks. Now there's 3 rinks, but originally there was only 2. And so because we'd have to travel between both those rinks to play these games, you have to have your own gear regardless. So ended up having to go onto like a buy swap sell group on Facebook to see if anybody knew or had any gear that they were happy to either give away or sell for cheap. I ended up with a hockey stick that was very, very stiff. So I had a hard time doing any kind of puck handling with that stick. Not to mention, I thought that I was right-handed, because I am right-handed when it comes to writing and holding the mouse and all that sort of stuff. Apparently, that's not how it works in hockey. So I found out maybe, I don't know, maybe a month or 2 before I started playing with my first team in hockey, I was actually a lefty. I am a lefty in hockey in the way that I hold the hockey stick. So I didn't realize that the way you would hold a broom or the way you would hold a vacuum is the way you would hold the hockey stick. That didn't click. And so I had such a hard time with puck handling and shooting goals with a right-handed stick that I learnt that I was a lefty when I went to a sniper's alley class, which is essentially practicing how to shoot the puck into the goals, like the different ways you could do it. And the instructor was like, and the instructor was a lefty as well. So he gave me his stick. He's like, try this stick and see if this helps. And I did. And he's like, yeah, you're a lefty. I don't know why you've been using a right-handed stick. You're a left-handed. You're left-handed in hockey. I'm like, oh, really? I had no idea. It's like, how do you hold a broom or a vacuum? I'm like, and then I showed him the way that I would, and that was the way that you would hold the left-handed stick. And he's like, yeah, no, you're definitely left-handed. you need to get a left-handed stick. I'm like, oh no. So then I had to find myself a left-handed stick. But now I'm fine. I have been playing ice hockey since 2013, which is, wow, it's insane that it's almost coming up at 10 years as of today, or as of this year at least. It's been 9 years since I started learning how to play ice hockey, and it's been, how long has it been since I've been playing with a club though, with a team? I think it took me a good maybe 1 or 2 years before I decided before I was confident enough to play ice hockey. But yeah, it's been quite some time now. Wow, that is interesting. But then obviously, last 2 years, couldn't play ice hockey because of reasons, pandemic, lockdowns, all that sort of thing. So, but yes, this year I am back into it. I have been playing in the beer league at the newest ice rink that opened up, I think about 3-4 years ago now. So I've been playing beer league hockey over the summer season, and our summer season has ended. Unfortunately, our team lost the semi-final, but that's okay. I've now got a winter season to look forward to. So I'll be doing a winter season beer league as well. And then I'm going to see how I go with this winter season, because I want to get back into competitive hockey in the summer season instead of doing beer league. Because beer league is more of a for fun, and also to sort of practice and sharpen your skills. And the rules are slightly different than it is to competitive hockey. So I'm going to try by, I think the summer competitive season starts in about September, October, depending on the schedules. I'm going to see if I can hook myself up back with my original club and play competitive hockey. I'd kind of missed it actually, as I've been playing ice hockey in beer league. It's been a lot of fun. Been meeting a lot of new people, making new friends. As the saying goes, hockey and friendship. It's lots of fun, and I've been able to play hockey with my best friend, which has been amazing. I never thought I'd ever be able to play a sport with my best friend, and the same sport at that. So I am so grateful that she has introduced me to this sport. Violent though it may be, it's still fun. It's still a lot of fun. And it's also probably the one sport that I know I played netball, and teamwork is definitely a thing. But because I only played it for such a short amount of time, I didn't really consider it too much. So playing ice hockey, coming from martial arts, I have learned so much about working in a team and playing in a team, and I love it so much, and I can't wait to keep going and do some more of the competitive hockey, which I'm really looking forward to. But one day I will travel over to North America and, skate on the rinks over there, and maybe even go during the winter to Canada and skate and play hockey on a frozen lake. That is the dream. Now it's the dream. Now that I've been playing ice hockey for so long, it's I think it's also the sport that I've played the longest. I'm pretty sure it's the one that has definitely played the longest. I've played ice hockey longer than I have practiced martial arts, and I think even longer than swimming. So, hey, that's cool. I have thought about other types of sports. I like watching sports as well. So, but I think participating is a lot more fun. I've watched a lot of sports. I've worked at sporting events, and they've been interesting. That's a whole other story that I can tell you now, but I think we're running out of time here. So let's just wrap it up. I would love to hear about your sporting history. Have you played sports? What type of sports have you played? Do you currently play a sport? I would love to know if you currently play sports. Let me know if you're also one of those people who play ice hockey like me. Especially those of you who are listening over in North America. That'd be amazing. Yes, so let me know your thoughts on my little adventures in sports, but also I'd love to know about your adventures in sports and what you think about sports. Are you the type of person who likes to play sports, or are you more of a introverted person who'd rather be inside and playing virtual sports on your consoles? Which is totally fine, because I do that too. But not all sports are for everybody. But if there is a particular sport that you consider a sport that most people wouldn't, for instance, I feel like chess is a sport, even though it's a board game, but you can play it competitively, so it is kind of considered a sport. I don't know. Just let me know your thoughts about sports, since I have about sports. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Many Thoughts I Have. If you'd like to check out more of my content, you can watch me stream live at twitch.tv/foolishfuji. I also have videos available to watch over at youtube.com/foolishfuji. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All these links are available in the show notes. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health, and I'll chat with you next time.